Welcome to YODyssey in 2022. I'd like to commence by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respect to past, present, and emerging leaders. YODyssey is an art exhibition that showcases the work of people who are on the Young Onset Dementia journey. Today there will be 4 different artists being presented, both their artwork and their stories. The purpose of this exhibition is not only to give the artist a chance to be exhibited and to be hung, but also to raise awareness in the community about young onset dementia. And young refers to a diagnosis before the age of 65. And it creates quite a different circumstance for people on that journey than if they were diagnosed after 65. Not least of which is how you get treated by the government. This event will involve a virtual tour of the gallery, followed by speakers for each of the 4 artists. We will then discuss the sponsors and award ceremonies that we intend to hold. And finally, we will have the official opening by Silverstein, who is the Executive Director of the Leicester Prize. We would like to encourage everybody to ask questions via the chat room. It will be collected here, and then on the basis that we have time, we'll ask and answer these questions. Thank you. The first artist will be Kevin Clark, followed by Keith Bleach, Robert Anson, and Linda Gordon. And now I'd like to start with the virtual tour. The initial artwork is the artwork by Linda Gordon. The next art is Kevin Clark. Woodwork is by Keith Bleach. And finally, the last artwork is by Robert Anson. We'll commence by asking Kevin Clark and Monica to talk about their art.
Thanks, Greg, and kaya everyone. I have the privilege as Kev's littlest sister-in-law and a big admirer of his art and his creative talent, to share a little bit and have a chat with Ron and Kev today about the journey of being an artist and living with young onset dementia. You can see some of his journey reflected in his artwork, which we're incredibly proud of, and I think Kev is too. Ron is Kev's soulmate and life partner. They share 4 grown children and another 4 that have been married into their family, and they have a collective gather of grandchildren of up to 11. I'm hoping I got that right. This keeps them on their toes and it keeps their hearts full. But Ron has been committed to ensuring that Kev's journey of living with young onset dementia remains as joyful and as full as possible. Now, a little bit about Kev. Kev the artist. Kev's always had creative talent. He's an out-of-the-box thinker. And throughout his life and over many, many years, this creative thinking has been recognised in boat building and construction industries. In his spare time, you find Kev in the shed creating bespoke furniture out of bushwood and also shaping surfboards, which combined his love of surfing and the ocean with his creative abilities. And you see some of this reflected in the gallery today. More recently, Kev began painting as therapy, was a means of living well with young onset dementia, as Kev was diagnosed 6 years ago at age 56. What you see in Kev's art here today, in this gallery, is specific colours that really express his life experiences in powerful yet gentle ways. Through each artwork, I think Kev communicates his love of the outdoors, of the oceans, of the forests, of the sunsets, of the wildflowers and the outback, all in abstract form, but with a detailed familiarity that really takes you to the place that he once saw. But now we get to hear a little bit more about this from the people that matter, from and Kev. So I'm just going to ask them a little bit of a Q&A question, and I might exit the screen from time to time so we can hear more and focus more on these guys. So I'm just going to start to ask you, Ron, how did Kev first begin taking up painting?
I'd say Kev was probably inspired as a child watching your mum paint. But and actually holding a paintbrush, you didn't really start doing that until a couple of years ago when his OT, occupational therapist, suggested that art might be a good way for Kev to express himself. Communication was becoming more challenging and she just said, give it a go. So, well, you hadn't held a paintbrush other than to paint the house before, or boats or something else. You started painting. Do you remember with me a beautiful therapist, his first therapist? He's had Mia and now Emma, and they're just both such joyful people. But she tried to coax you into all different sorts of styles, and then in the end she said, I'm just his colour labourer, because Kev knew exactly what he wanted to paint.
So Kev knows what he wants when he's got the brush and the colours in hand.
Pretty much.
And then, Kev, I'm wondering how it must feel for you when you look on the walls and you see your artwork up here and how that feels.
Be proud.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
It make me emotional. And Emma now, when you paint with Emma, like I just hear laughter. And yeah, it's definitely not that colour. Put that colour away. But that one, yeah, that one, and then he'll just mix and play and create.
Oh, that's really special. I know that Ron and Kev, I've seen photos of you as you've been creating with your therapist, and you've spoken before that the connection for you, Kev, with your art therapist is so important. You know, how does that play out for Kev to be able to create what he sees and what he feels?
Kev, you know, there's been a few times when I think it's been really important You know, I do, just a few months ago, after Pop passed away, and you painted probably the darkest painting. It's in the other room, the darkest painting you painted. And I said to you, when I looked at it, I felt grief. And you said, yeah, Pop. You know, that way of being able to express how you feel, like that. And then there's joyful paintings. There's one that makes you feel really, really happy in the other room as well. That's what you called it. This one makes you feel happy. So yeah, really important.
Yeah, and really powerful to have someone walk beside you both to be able to communicate the things that you feel, the memories that you have, like to say, the joy or the grief, whatever it is that is coming up for care for you at the time. I think the value of, you know, arts practitioners and community artists, and this is what this exhibition is largely really celebrating, is also remembering the role that they play. Often it's unseen work, I think, and that connection is really important to what we see on the walls. Can we talk a little bit about Kev's art for a moment as well? You know, that's what we're all celebrating today. So what influences Kev? I know everyone said that your mum, growing up with your mum as a painter and as an artist, would have had lots of influence on you and inspiration. But what else influences you, Kev, when you're painting?
I just suggest the ocean. There's so many paintings that have the ocean as an influence, or there's sunrises, there's sunsets, the bush. The one that's been featured in the marketing material and on Facebook, the Pilbara sunrise, the wildflowers in the Pilbara, that one's just stunning. And it was only a few weeks ago that I got out photos from a holiday trip that we did with your mum and dad. We went to Millstream National Park, and when I looked through the photos, I'd completely forgotten, but there was photo after photo that Kevin had obviously taken of his mum and dad and me outside the car, stopping. He stopped along the road in several places, and there was that just prolific wildflower explosion of wildflowers, and all those colours, the purple mullas, the Sturt Desert Peas, the reds, the Pilbara wattle, which has got a very different colour of yellow, and it's all there. It's almost like that photo, which is what Mia used to say, it's got this photographic memory. It's like those photos are transposed onto the canvas.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you were talking about colour before, when we were talking kind of before this event started, and talking about how, Kev, you know exactly what colour you want to bring that memory to life, or to bring that influence to the canvas. Yeah, I think, and I'm looking at the one behind. One of the next questions I had for these guys is, you know, which is your favourite piece? And Veron pointing to the one that you can see behind Kev, the bright yellow-red piece up there, which is just stunning. Sunrise. Yeah, do you want to talk about that? And then I'll ask Kev if he has a favourite piece as well.
Well, that one for me, I have it hanging in our bedroom, so it's the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning, and it is just such a beautiful, joyful sunrise. It's the start of a new day, it's a fresh beginning, and that's how we try to treat each day, because, you know, that can be pretty challenging. So it's like, all right, let's start with this beautiful sunrise. So yeah, that's why that one's special to me.
And does Kev have a favourite piece that you point to?
Kev, you know the one in the other room, and you say this one makes me happy? It's one that Nathan's got. Nathan shows it. We'll have to show it to you.
Yeah, and what are the colours in it?
It's like reds and reds. It's definitely a reflection of the sunset on the ocean, but it's like quite deep water. You can see quite deep colours in it. Yeah. lots of them have got dolphins in them, and one that you remind you of the Baraka when we were crew on the Baraka from here to Adelaide, and we were surrounded by people coming up to Kangaroo Island, and we had a really rough 12-hour trip, and we were surrounded by porpoises, and they just almost guided us into calm water. That's what it felt like. Yeah. But yeah, Kev says this one reminds me of that experience, and it's like you see these little flashes of silver in the painting. Is it in here? No, no, it's similar to this one up here, but it's not. It's in the other room.
So I think, you know, and a nice way to maybe round off as well is that the power of art to the healing process, regardless of what people are healing through, sometimes it's daily life, sometimes it's mental therapy, the artist today is living with Young Onset Dementia. That is a really powerful form. Can you just tell us a little bit about how Kev's experience of living with onset dementia and yours as well, Brian, your families together, how does art help with that and the influence of, you know, the nature and the grandkids through that as well?
Tell us. What does art give to you?
Yeah, we're you here, and a few times.
Joy? Give you joy? Sense of satisfaction.
No, that's great.
Pride? Pride?
I think there's a real beauty in the artwork that has been shared here today. So I'd like to thank you, Brian and Kev, for sharing yourselves with all of us today. It lets us know a little bit about the journey and the expression and the nature and family and what it means, and the frustration, you both, and the frustration. That's all very real, and we shouldn't ignore that either. I know that Ron also, you wanted to just acknowledge the collaboration of everyone here today as well as being really important. Mind the Change and also Kev's support therapy work from Interchange and Kern Health in Antrim. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Ron, to this?
No, I think that's, yeah, it adds a whole other layer to our lives that wouldn't be there properly without this, living this through this weird experience. And the communication challenges mean that painting for Kev just allows a way for him to express himself. Yeah, even if I do get it wrong sometimes.
And Kev has to put up with the sisters one more time, yes, baby. Thanks very much, guys, and I'm going to throw it back to you, Greg. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Our next artist is sitting next to me, Keith Bleach. He is responsible for the glorious woodwork that we saw in the virtual tour. Over to you, Keith.
Okay, thanks. A diagnosis of dementia comes as a huge shock. In my case, I knew there was something not right, but just didn't have a name for it. I was very tempted to kid myself that everyone else was just being difficult. And sometimes I still believe that, but anyway, we'll carry on. But deep down, I knew something had gone seriously wrong. And I think that was after all the rest of the people found out there was something wrong. But anyway, for a long time, I worried about what the future would hold for us. My wife and I were coming up to our retirement years, and we weren't quite there yet, but we're looking forward to retiring and working on our very long list of things that we plan to do together. One of the things we always did every year was to plan for next year and what we would do. And I used to tell the children that everybody has a life. Some people actually plan theirs. Anyway, that's by the way. This disease was going to change it all for both of us, our family and our friends. I think we actually lost a couple of friends, but that's okay because we made a lot more. It was a very difficult period, and I could no longer work. I couldn't sort of work out what I was supposed to be doing and what have you. I couldn't drive, so that meant someone had to be with me, which my work wasn't a two-person job. Many of the things around the house that I used to do became almost impossible, and things were going downhill fast. I sort of realised since then that they can actually go a lot faster, but they're not with me, thank heavens. Then I had a bit of a light bulb moment. I realised that I'm still in control, sort of. My attitude was in need of adjustment. So instead of being woe is me and all the things that go along with that, I had to agree to myself that I couldn't do what I used to. And I actually wrote that down, the things that I couldn't do and the things that maybe I have to focus on. So I could no longer do it like I used to focusing on the things that I can do and even learn some new ones. Tried a few things. I was going to swamp myself with different hobbies and things, but we got down to a couple, which was basically wood turning and a few other things. One of the first steps we took was to go to Alzheimer's WA and adjust into change program, and I don't know if people have heard of that, but that was done awesome. It helped me a lot, it helped Julie a lot, it made us realise that we weren't the only ones. Just trying to think of the other thing, but anyway, it might come back to me. I realised we weren't alone and everybody was actually the same. So what we were going through was the same as everybody else with dementia. There's no difference, apparently. So our planned remote area adventures, we bought an off-road camper and a four-wheel drive and all that sort of stuff, were coming to an end rapidly. And now, we actually have shorter trips. We belong to a caravan club. It's usually about 4 days every month, 4 nights every month. It's close by, which I never thought I'd be camping in Mandurah. Go down there, just catch a train, can't I? Come back. Which I tried to do once and got lost, but anyway. Yeah, so all that had to change, and it was just change after change after change, and coming to grips with all those things that you can't do anymore. We still marvel at the scenery, we still gaze at the stars, and we love to sit down a campfire together, and that's really the gist of camping for us. One of the issues I did have was giving up driving, and that was a hard one to do. My psychiatrist told me I should hand my licence in, and I got down to the footpath in front of his surgery, whatever you call those things. And Julie said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Take me to the police station straight away. I'm going to hand my licence in right now, and if you don't, I won't." So guess where we went? Yep, we went straight there. So I haven't been driving now for, is it 3 years, George, I suppose? Still frustrates the hell out of me sometimes, but hey. Anyway, I have a GPS tracker now with me at all times. It's a great confidence booster. I know that if I get confused and lose my way, my family can always find me. And we tested that in the wild catching oval. And the kids answered in about 2 minutes flat saying, "What are you doing in wild catching in the oval, Dad?" Okay, it works. We continue to be involved with compassion projects, but now focus on our local community instead of those requiring us to head overseas, which we used to do a hell of a lot. I still love my work, as I have all my life, and I've found some incredible supportive and caring friends through the groups. And a couple of those friends have actually come back from sort of working days years before. So that's been really good. One of my greatest joys is being able to pass on my skills to others, and I regularly demonstrate some of these within my wood turning club. I also like to invite friends and family to join me as I turn out many wooden articles in my home workshop. So that's available to anybody if they want to come and have a little go at making a pen or something. Then
Really?
come on down, yeah. So a pen takes about an hour to make. Okay. And there are lots of different woods, CTP. Right, that wasn't in here, okay. So most of my grandchildren are only too happy to help Grandpa in the shed, which is kind of good. No, it's great, but yeah, interesting. In closing, I'd like to remind you that no matter what my official diagnosis says, I'm still Keith. And that is a very important thing for me. My memory may not be great at times. I often get lost or confused, and I'm not very good at lots of the things I used to do. But I'm still me, and I intend living the best life I can. With the help of my wife, Julie, who is my wife, a lover, my best friend, and now my carer. Thanks very much.
Very eloquently expressed. So it's my turn to talk about my brother-in-law, Robert Anson. He was an architect when I first met him, and he took up with my sister, and they got married back, as I recall, around 1987. He started his own architectural practice, and amongst other things has designed low-cost housing in Fremantle and Dunsborough, one of the train stations on the way, the line up to Joondalup, and many other buildings, often public buildings. In 2018, his behaviours seemed to have shifted. We had interpreted his behaviours largely being depressed because of the downturn in the architectural business. Entirely failed to recognise that there was something much deeper, more fundamental, until there was a dramatic shift in the circumstances of his practice, forcing all of us to focus on the fact that something's not right. He got diagnosed towards the end of 2018. And remember, this is in 2016, Rob ran in the New York Marathon. So he's really fit. My sister had decided with the change in circumstances that she would move from Perth into a quieter environment, as they'd always gone to Dunsborough. The Anson family had a home in Dunsborough. They decided to go back to Dunsborough and try to lead a quieter life and find things for Robert to do. So he started Pilates, he learned yoga, and started art classes with Pamela Britton. And Pamela's a very good art teacher and very patient. So it was good to be able to introduce Rob to painting. They started with form, drawing things that were lifelike, and then moved into colour, recognising colour, different types of colour, how to represent things in colour. And in this gallery, you'll see that progression. From in the main gallery here, this work is more than a year to 2 years old and has regular form, often that rectangular form that we associate with architecture. In the corridor is artwork from the past year, and it's basically lost its form, but still has something of the colour. And in the front room, this is art from the last couple of months. Rob is no longer painting now, but you will see that it's just all big masses of colour, or my sister refers to as mud. Because for Robert, the act of painting is not about what he produces. It's the sensation of, as Keith referred to, knowing that you're alive and being alive and not thinking about what you have become. So I welcome everybody to come and have a look at this art and look at the progression. And as we are doing, celebrate life. The final artist is Linda Good, and I'll throw to an interview with her daughter.
And it also helped Mum. She was able to give back, and I think that was a huge part of her art as well, being able to give back, because often when you're living with dementia, it's, you know, you receive care, you receive help, you receive assistance, and as human beings, we don't live to receive. We like to be able to give and receive. And so often for people living with dementia, especially younger onset, that ability to give back or to help others is diminished. And we don't just wake up to eat and go to the toilet and drive a car and then go back to bed. We live for meaning, and especially for people like my mum, you know, she loved helping people, and when she started creating her art, it was a way for her to be able to help people. Like originally it was sewing. She could make clothes for people or make a wedding dress or a ball gown, and people would be really grateful, and or it might be a costume or a dance leotard or something. And she lost the ability to use the sewing machine, but she retained that creative spirit, and so she started painting and sculpting and creating or mixed media works on canvas. And again, it gave her the ability to give back, because people could see what was happening for her through her art. And it was almost like it was a little bit of a window, you know. If it was a really muted painting or a really dark painting, people would sort of go, oh, you know, you're right. She'd be like, no, I'm really struggling at the moment. And then there'd be other paintings like this one that are really bold and bright and colourful, and those were her kind of triumphant moments, and she was able to be really articulate about what was happening. And it was also something that she could enjoy with family. So her and I used to create, you know, I'd set up on the veranda in Yokai, and we'd have this, you know, great like table set up with paints and stuff, and we'd just both be out there for hours and just lose track of time and have so much fun. And her saying silly things like, you know, less is more, Althea, and I'd be like, oh, am I overdoing it? And she'd be like, less is more. And so, you know, just those things that you kind of experience with your mum and your parents. And she was then also able to share it with her two eldest grandkids as well, so she could do art with them and, you know, create with them, and they're super creative girls as well. So it was something where it was like, okay, I've lost this part, but I still have this and I want to give this, and it gave her that opportunity to do that.
That's the final interview with an artist about the artist. The next duty for me is to acknowledge the sponsors, in particular Lottery West, who have made a significant contribution, financial contribution for us to be able to stage this exhibition, and as well as to hold workshops. And our partners in the workshops are Mind the Change, who will run an art workshop, and Attuned Health, which will run a music workshop. These have been deferred from next weekend, which is the original intention, to a date to be fixed, primarily because of the concerns around COVID. And that's why the opening event is being held on Zoom, because we have to comply with the requirements of meeting. So I think we'll defer these until we're able to have larger gatherings. The next announcement is about art awards. We're going to have two different awards. One selected by an art critic, who in this case is Annie Silverstein, who will be officially opening the exhibition, and a popular choice award. And we are not yet organised as to how we're going to conduct this popular choice award. But on the YODyssey Facebook site, we will post how you might email in your selection from the virtual gallery, or if you come to the art gallery itself, make the selection while you are here. And these will be presented at the closing event in 2 weeks' time. Look at the Facebook site for the further details. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce Annie Silverstein, the Executive Director of the Leicester Prize, and a very, very strong advocate for art in our community. Over to you, Annie.
Sorry, Annie, you're just muted. Can you just unmute yourself?
Oh. So did you hear any of that?
No, sorry, Annie, you might need to go again.
Shall I start again?
Yes, please.
Yes.
You can tell my age. I'm sure. Anyway, here we go. I'm just saying a little bit before that, I was a little bit undone by all this because it's terribly moving, and it's a great privilege to have been asked to speak at this event. And it is a very important initiative, and I can imagine all the excellent work that is required to get it off the ground. And given that we're at peakish COVID right now, you've had quite another dimension to manage. And I'm quite pleased that it's become online, because I also have COVID, and as you can see, I'm perfectly well, but not quite well enough. As mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of the Leicester Prize, and the Leicester Prize is a national art prize focusing on portraiture, not unlike the Archibald. And we receive about 800 entries a year. And from that vast number, whittle it down to 40 finalists that's shown in an exhibition at the Art Gallery of WA. And we also host a youth prize and a comprehensive community engagement program, including workshops for people with Alzheimer's. And we've had the privilege of working with Althea from Mind the Change before. But before taking on the Leicester Prize, I worked in Alzheimer's research, and it's not an obvious connection of the dots, but I have a real interest in art and the well-being of people with Alzheimer's. And I suspect there's many people better qualified than me to speak on both Alzheimer's research and art, but I may have a unique perspective. And the Leicester Prize's aim is for all people to live in a culturally richer and more connected society. Art connects us all and allows us to express our identity. And creativity comes from a place beyond intellect and has the power to stir feeling and memory. And the vision of YODyssey, in my understanding, was to raise awareness about this form of dementia that is little understood in the general community. And additionally, the focus is on celebrating how people living with this condition find ways, such as art, to express themselves to live as well as possible. Many institutions are starting to realize the healing power of art and offer courses and workshops to engage people living with dementia and their care partners. There's very strong evidence to suggest that participating in creative arts is a vital element in public health. I can see within this group, many people are involved and interacting in the process. The whole immersion in creativity and mark making, and the mark making is an expression together generates a life enhancing circle of creativity. For everyone involved with dementia, there must be very many frightening moments. The creative arts helps people to be reconnected to their heartfelt memory and find their present capacity for love and relationship. Sensation, emotion, imagination, and memory seem to inhabit the same world. So being surrounded and engaged with colour, art, music, song, and dance is as much about kindness and love and connection as it is about creativity. While we're celebrating the artwork today, we're also celebrating the journey alongside people with impaired cognitive function. Through this exhibition, we can all let ourselves witness and adjust to their world, which can then give as much to our own. I'm so impressed with your organisation, YODyssey. What an opportunity you provide for families and carers and individuals with early onset dementia. If ever there was an example of love, kindness, and creativity meeting at one point, it's with this group. You're a shining example of how communities who care for each other function. I'm impressed and humbled for what I see today. And really moved by the stories from Kevin, Keith, Rob, and Linda. And I would like to just wish you all the very best with this exhibition. That's me.
Thank you very much, Annie. That's very well expressed. So now the exhibition is open. It might take some little while now, for say the next 10 minutes, to address some of the questions that might have come in.
Yeah. So we did have a question for Veronica and Kevin come through. So if they've said learning a new skill at any age is difficult, more so because of the circumstances, in addition to nature and the ocean, is Kev inspired by his grandchildren?
Kev, your grandkids. I think the colour and the joy that pops up in his paintings is an expression of how his grandkids influence that, because they're popping up with their little bits of joy every, like, how many times a day? Yes, definitely.
Thank you. The other questions are in regards to Facebook links. So we will definitely be posting those to the Facebook page. We also have a question here. Is any of the art for sale? Greg, maybe you can answer that one.
Yes, the art for sale is the art largely by Robert Anson. The other art is not for sale as an original, it's for sale as a print copy. And they can be ordered via the Facebook site. And we will post the details of the artwork. In addition, Keith's wonderful woodworking abilities and the products of that are for sale at Alzheimer's WA.
We've got no more questions, so.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for listening in, and I look forward to announcing in 2 weeks' time who has won the Art Critics Award and who has won the most popular art award. Thank you.